Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be how to regain attraction after acting needy and being impatient. Well, this is an email that probably most of us can relate to because we've probably all done things like this when we didn't know any better. And so this particular email is from a guy who's been dating a woman for about 4 months, and he tends to get upset and act very needy and neurotic when she doesn't reply or respond to his messages quickly enough. But he's having a hard time pumping the brakes and backing off, and is just really impatient. He just takes it personally, like it's a personal violation if she doesn't respond to him quickly enough. And as a man, when you do this, especially you do it enough, it's a good way to get ghosted because masculinity is calm. Women are most attracted to confidence in guys. And if a guy is just flipping out because she hasn't texted him back within an hour or so, it just turns women off. And sometimes they're going to do this on purpose, especially when you're just in the talking stage and you first meet somebody. They might just leave you hanging or leave you unread for a while just to troll you and see how you handle it. And if you lose your shit and you get upset because that's a good way that women use to screen guys out that, quite frankly, just don't have their shit together. Because masculinity is calm, and these guys are the opposite of calm. They're constantly getting upset. They're constantly getting buttered. They're constantly taking things personally because they're terrified they're never going to hear back from the girl. And I think by getting mad and upset at her and lecturing her, that's going to make her respond differently. All it ends up doing is causing them to chase her right out of their lives. So he says, hey, coach, I've been seeing this girl for a little over 4 months. Typical story of becoming needy and not knowing it. Things were absolute fireworks, and we were both really into each other, hooking up all the time. She made tons of time for me, despite having 3 kids. She's a 35-year-old widow, and 1 kid is from before marrying the second man. She tells me stories about her late husband and how emotionally distraught he'd be with her lack of interest in his plans with friends, etc., etc. Basically hinting at, don't be needy, motherfucker. But it went over my head. Remember, women help you when they like you. And so if they're telling you about something that an ex used to do that they liked or didn't like, they're often complimenting you if it's something they like because you're doing the same thing. And if it's something that they don't like, it's usually because you're doing something that they don't like. And this is how women tend to communicate, is they use relational type of examples like this. And most guys, they don't know any better. They want to rationalize and argue with her or try to win their point. And this is how they communicate how they're thinking and feeling and how your actions are making them feel and think. She told me up front she's not a good communicator. I've acted needy as she pulled away, bent myself backwards, seeking approval. All that shit, that's a no-no. But subconsciously, she didn't know why she was testing me, and I didn't know what was going on. Well, most guys usually don't. These are just the subtle ways that women are testing a man's strength in order to see if they feel safe with the guy or not. Because if you lose your shit and you get upset and you're constantly getting butthurt and angry and mad at things she's doing or not doing, that's not a calm guy. That's not a guy that's centered in his masculine energy. Women love a guy that is totally indifferent to these things. He just figures, hey, she's busy. She'll get back to me when she can. She got 3 kids, whatever happens to be. Maybe she's taking care of her elderly parents. It's whatever. You can't let this stuff upset you. Dating is like tennis. You hit the ball over the net, and the quicker she hits it back, the more interested and engaged she is, and the slower she is to hit it back, the less interested and engaged she is. It's not something to take personally. It's just something that you can use as evidence to tell how she feels about you. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is not what a good dude you are or how handsome you are or how much money you have in your bank account. It's how what you're doing and saying is making her feel. If you act masculine, she's going to feel safe and become more attracted and reach out to you more, want to see you more. She'll be more responsive. She'll be more flexible. She'll be nicer to you. She'll be more concerned about seeking your attention and validation and winning your approval, and obviously winning you over potentially for a long-term relationship. But the more you freak out, you inhibit and get in the way of that, because you just make her not feel safe with you. Because if you cause a woman to feel like she's always walking on eggshells because you're going to lose your shit, or it'll send you into orbit, well, you're not going to be seeing her for very long, because you'll get a pullback. And usually when the pullback happens, especially insecure and needy guys really get upset about it. Because it's what happens when you don't get enough strokes from mom and dad as a kid. And it's helpful to understand how your parents doing a good job or a bad job affects your behavior in your adult relationships. Because you're not so much reacting to the woman, you're getting triggered by what she's doing, but at the end of the day, you're reacting to the love you didn't get from your parents. So when you understand that, it helps you to kind of hang back and be patient and just learn to deal with this. Learn to deal with the uncertainty of whether or not she's going to reach out. But when a guy invests all of his emotional energy and puts all of his future hopes and dreams on that girl choosing him or liking him, it's very hard for him to deal with it. It's also very hard for him to pump the brakes, like it is for this guy when she backs away. She asked me to go to her 6-year-old's birthday party for moral support because her in-laws of the late husband have never liked her, but I went. I showed a little angst, but nothing too bad. I literally said, yeah, I don't think I'm ready for this, but it's good to build character by going through stressful situations. Well, when you say something like that, oh, I don't think I'm ready for this, you're basically saying, I can't handle this. That's not calm. That's not centered. That's you basically saying, I can't handle this situation. I can't handle my emotions. I have no emotional self-control. That's the kind of thing that's going to turn her off. And so, and again, these are the kinds of things you should only be doing and hanging out with her ex-in-laws if you're exclusive and in a long-term relationship, not with somebody you're just starting to date. Because once she's head over heels in love with you, if you act that way, it's not going to be as big a deal as when you're just kind of casually dating. And if she brings you into a stressful situation and you can't handle it, she's going to lose attraction and respect for you. So you got to, and as I say in the book, if what you're about to say or what you're about to do is not going to make you look more masculine and confident, keep it to yourself. If you were stressed in this situation, keep it to yourself. You want her to think that you're calm, cool, collected. This is not a big deal. But when you let her know that these things upset you, and they're disconcerting, or you're struggling with it, that's not you being a rock or a mountain. That's making you basically look like you're weak. And if you're weak, and they sense weakness, they're going to pull away and they're going to test more. And typically the guys will spiral more when that happens. The next day, I didn't hear from her until early afternoon, and I responded with needy and calling her out. Oh, hey, I didn't know if I was going to hear from you after I did an uncomfortable thing for you last night. So, again, more, oh, I can't handle this. I'm upset. You're basically acting like a woman that can't handle her emotions and her feelings. These are not things that cause her to be attracted. If you'd have gone through that and it looked to her like you came through with flying colors, and when she asks you about it, you're just very matter of fact, even though may have been freaking out inside. When you communicate to her and let her know that you were freaking out inside, that's not masculine, that's not calm. That's you basically losing your shit and informing her that you really couldn't handle it and you weren't up to the task. It's a good way to dry a woman up and turn her off and make her back away even more. She didn't try to break up with me, but she was not happy. Next, I was invited to join her for her ex-baby dad's birthday drinks. I showed much ambivalence to her before this was a huge turnoff. She was not happy with me. After that, we went for a walk and she proposed ending things. So again, this is, as the book says, but I think he's come to me after all this was going on. This is why you don't do group dates, especially in a case like this. You don't hang out with her ex's in-laws and stuff like that, because you're getting thrown into situations. And if you slip up, now you got everybody that you interacted with in her friend group or peer group, her family, that is now going to work to cock block you and tell her how they don't like you and they think she can do better. Again, this is why the rules are in the book to not do things like this until she's head over heels in love with you. I was calm and I asked her to reconsider because those events were out of my comfort zone, which you just basically reiterated they couldn't handle it. She got 3 kids. If you can't handle being around the in-laws for a little bit, it's like, how can you handle being a stepdad? How can you handle being the head of the household? You're just telling her that you're just an incomplete man and you don't have your shit together. You're supposed to be the strong one. And instead, you're just acting like one of the children. And I knew they were things that had to be done. She tried to compare those events to meeting my mom. What the fuck? In other words, she's basically saying, hey, I met your mom and it went great, but when you meet some of my in-laws, you're basically telling me you can't handle it. That's why she said about the meeting the mom. It's the same kind of thing. How are you with her family? And how is she with your family? It appears what she's basically saying is, hey, I was good with your family, but you couldn't handle being around mine. And you made yourself look bad. Instead of her coming away from that beaming and thinking, man, I got a strong guy here. He can handle this stuff. He can handle a little bit of drama or the messy situation. Because again, her ex's in-laws or her husband's in-laws don't like her. And then she brings a guy who can't handle it. They probably didn't like him either. Recently, I got upset that she wouldn't come over one night and she blocked me and went to a friend's daughter's quinceanera without me. That's the, what is that, 15, 16? We met the next day for her to break up with me again on a walk, and I begged like a little bitch. So she's dumping you because of the fact that you're not centered and you don't have your shit together, and then you beg and you plead, which just reconfirms to her that she made the right decision, that you're a man baby and you can't handle it. She said she'd given me one more chance, but I would come last. She called me the next day because she had a spa day scheduled for us from weeks prior, so we met for that. I was cool, playful, and we brought sushi back to my place and had very emotionally unattached sex. I told her I'd give her space. She called me the next day and we talked for an hour or so as boyfriend and girlfriend, frankly. Well, the phone is for setting dates. Again, you're not in an exclusive long-term relationship with this woman yet. You're just kind of casually dating, it sounds like. Tentative Friday night plans, neither of us committed. My bad in hindsight. Yeah, this is why you're supposed to be direct, decisive, make a definite date. When you just leave things up in the air like that, that's what women do. You're acting like a girl. You're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to make things happen, and you didn't. I waited 5 days, called her, and asked, hey, babe, I'm just getting to the office, but wanted to say hi and see when you have time on your schedule for dinner and a movie. She said, I don't know. Well, sounds excited to see him, doesn't she? I replied, okay, give me a call when you figure your schedule out. And she said, okay, I will. I really care about this girl. She knocked my fucking socks off. I'm a part-time trainer at the YMCA, and she was a client. I knew her for 5 months before we started dating. I'm oscillating between I cannot stand not being on good terms with her and just play it cool and wait her out. Well, this is your issue. I had the same problem when I was learning this stuff. It's like you just have to learn to keep your shit together and be a good poker player and have a good poker face. Even if you're freaking out on the inside, you can't show it to her because that's going to turn her off. You want her to look at you and be like, I got my Superman. But instead, it turns out she got a garbage pail kids. If you guys remember that from the 1980s. My thought is to wait 7 days until re-engaging about another date. No, you shouldn't be doing that. You hit the ball over the net and you told her to get back to you when she figured out her schedule. But this is what the neediness does. You don't want to wait for her because you're terrified she may never reach out again and you'll never speak to her. So you think, oh, I'll just wait 5 days and take some time. And then when I can't handle waiting any longer, then I'm going to reach out. The difference that makes the difference is indifference. You have to be okay with not hearing from her. This is what happens when women act like cats. You can't freak out about it and try to force yourself onto her. You're, in essence, contemplating running after her like somebody chasing after a cat that doesn't want to be touched or petted anymore. The quagmire of it all, to me in my head, is that we're technically still together. I was given another chance, but she needs space. Well, she needs time and space away from you, to wonder about you, to think about you, to miss you. And she's got to see that you can be congruent with your words. The fact that you're thinking about breaking no contact and reaching out to her after she's asked for space is just going to cause you to drive her away even more. And so this is your issue. You got to learn to deal with this. Go hang out with your friends, go see your family, go to the gym, do things without her. Hang out with your friends. You got to be okay with not hearing from her, because when you've been together for a long enough time and you're out of the infatuation and the honeymoon period, that's the way you're going to be. When she's like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I can't see you for a few days, wherever, you're like, oh man, this is awesome. I get a few days to myself. I can clean out my garage. I can get caught up on some things, watch some football, whatever it happens to be. But you're never going to get there if you're fucking freaking out all the time. Since we're still in a relationship, is no contact a good approach? Well, don't think of it in terms of like no contact being an approach or not. It's the reason you typically go no contact is, like in this case, she's asked for space. When a woman says I need space, she's basically saying you're smothering me, you're obnoxious, you're acting needy and desperate and clingy, and it's a fucking turnoff. You're drying me up. And so when you tell her, well, just get in touch when you figure out your schedule, you have to be congruent with that. You have to, even if it's 2 weeks or a month or whatever. So at this point, you've hit the ball over the net. Obviously, if you don't hear from her for 30 days, then you're clearly not with her anymore. And then you can just, you're a free agent, start meeting and dating other women. Because if you don't fix this with her, the next time you get a girl that knocks your socks off, you're going to chase her away for exactly the same reason. Or do I give her a call in a week and let that be your last opportunity? No, you must be congruent with what you said. You told her, hey, figure out your schedule and get back to me. And you can't handle the silence because it's been several days and it's freaking you out. But at the end of the day, you're the one that pushed her away. You're chasing her out of your life. And if you don't pump the brakes, then you're going to cement it in her mind and, most importantly, her heart, that you're just a big man baby and you don't have your shit together. And therefore, she'll say, oh, well, we can be friends. You can be my Harry Honda and mow my lawn and stuff. But you're not going to get anywhere near the box. I'd say your interest level is a 5 at best at this point. Yeah, I'd say it's a 5. If you don't hear from her, then obviously it was clearly below a 5. But it's always best to underrate her attraction level. She responds, well, when I reach out, I just don't know the right blend of orbiting her. Well, again, you got to read the book, dude. Stop cherry picking videos. So at this point, you're just waiting to hear from her. And when she does reach out, assume she wants to see you, invite her over to make dinner at your place, hang out, have fun, hook up. Live in the moment, focus on one date at a time. Again, you got to be okay with hitting the ball over the net and waiting for her to hit it back. You've been barraging her with so much contact and so much unattractive behavior that you've turned her off to the point where she wants space to see if her feelings creep back up on her or not. But if you keep barraging her because you can only hold out for 4 or 5 days or a week, you're going to turn her off to the point where it's going to cement in her mind that you're better as a friend or as somebody that she used to know and used to date. So you got to become okay with it. Every guy has to learn to deal with this and be okay with not hearing from her. If you grow up in a family where mom and dad, fill your self-esteem bucket so full that the world can't poke enough holes in it to drain it dry, this is a non-issue for you. But most of us that didn't learn this stuff, didn't have a perfect family at home, you got to learn this somehow, some way. Because if you don't, you're going to make the same mistake over and over and over and over again, which is exactly what I wrote about in my book. And it wasn't until I got into my late 20s, early 30s that the light bulb started going off. Because I used to behave like this, especially when I was with a girl that I really liked that knocked my socks off. I couldn't handle it. If she didn't respond as quickly as I thought, I would take it as a personal rejection, and that it's going to happen. What always happens with every girl I really liked is that they would just disappear from my life and give me explanations that made no sense. So again, dating's like tennis. Just wait to hear from her, and then when you do, just make the next date. As the book says, your job is just simply to create an opportunity for sex to happen. Hang out, have fun, hook up. Nothing else. Pretty simple. But you're over pursuing, and when you do that, you're ruining the sexual polarity, and you're acting like a girl, and it's going to turn her off and dry her up. So if you want to have any chance of her coming back and becoming reattracted, you got to let her come to you at her pace and be okay with not hearing from her. So if you got a question or challenge, you want to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the coaching tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website, and book a coaching session with yours truly. If you haven't already signed up for our exclusive premium members only content, in the video description of this video, there are links to join on YouTube, or you can join on Spotify, or our website, understandingrelationships.com. Just click the plans tab when you get there. And with our website, you can do a 7-day free trial to check out what content you get for your money. And if you choose an annual plan, you can get a 25% discount at the end of the 7-day free trial. The platforms are not connected, so if you subscribe on YouTube, you'll consume the content on YouTube. If you subscribe on the website, you'll consume it there. Obviously, you get the email analysis, and the books are on the website. The books are there to read for free. If you're new here, if you haven't got a copy, you can read 3% Man for free on my website. Just subscribe to the email newsletter. Mastering Yourself is also there, my second book, that you can read for free. And then if you can also, same thing with Spotify, is not connected to YouTube or my website. Spotify is great if you like to drive and listen to the members only content and the audio only, because with the YouTube app, if you're just like binge listening to videos and your screen goes to sleep and you're listening to a members only video, it will stop playing. So if you like to just do audio only, Spotify would be the better place, versus YouTube if you're going to subscribe. And when you're sitting at your computer and you want to have the books and you really want to take it seriously, have a good study session with the book and the video newsletters and the article email analysis that goes along with it, the website is obviously the best place for that, and that's where we would prefer that you sign up. So until next time, I will talk to you soon.